All right, we are live. Mike Taylor, welcome to the future of
What's
fitness.
happening, Eric? Thanks for having me on today.
I'm I'm giddy. The conversation we just had. Number one, we're two, adult ski bums, right? You living in Lake Tahoe, I'm in Whitefish. We could talk about that for hours. That's probably a topic for another podcast. Uh, but let me set the table. As I had the opportunity. I've been following BeaverFit for a while. At Ursa, I had the opportunity through Brandon Kirk at Metabolic, and we'll talk about how you guys are working with that brand and your CJ and your team. Finally got to mingle a little bit and see what type of people who you have on your team, and it's great, very authentic, very energetic, a lot of fun, very fun people. But you guys have always, I've been watching this kind of steady yet seemingly meteoric growth of this thing called BeaverFit, and how to even categorize it, what you guys do. So I think there's a lot of information. We're going to talk about some really fascinating stuff, and what you're doing with the DoD, and the term I've never heard before is the human weapon system and how that's advancing. So a lot of good stuff here. I'm going to just stop talking and let you give a little bit of your backstory, Mike, and then we'll take it from there.
No, Eric, thank you. And like you said, kind of a ski bum at heart. I live in Tahoe City, California, with my wife and two boys, and we spend a lot of time in the mountains. But obviously, have BeaverFit is our passion project and our company that we run with an amazing team that you got to meet, and we run out of Reno, Nevada. Jumping back a little bit, the company actually started in the UK in 2010 by a father-son team named Tom and Jim Beaver. They were actually a family bridge building company. They're building municipal bridges, and the son, Tom Beaver, that's about my age, 40, 42, 43 years old, was big into fitness. He was going through the SAS reserve training, and he could weld like an animal. So he started doing functional fitness rigs. And that's really how BeaverFit started. And myself and Alex Roothouse, I met Alex in a previous life when I was in the Navy, and we were running these little jet boats on rivers in Iraq, and started this the first riverine unit since Vietnam. So Alex and I were buddies then, and we were working in the industry, and we're following what Tom and his dad were doing. And then they came out with this container gym product, and we saw it, and we're like, man, that's what's next. So that's jumping forward. That's what started BeaverFit, is this container gym that we thought had a unique value proposition to folks in the military, and also commercially to train outside. And from there, we've really had a passion for building an incredible team, while also having a really close relationship with our customers, understanding their requirements, and then using the incredible team to design products to meet people's requirements.
When you look back and you mentioned you kind of knew this was the next big thing, talking about the container model, why? Like, what was it about it that you're like, okay, this is going to be
Yeah,
big?
at first it was very specific to the military. So with our military background,
Mm,
we knew the military moved a lot of equipment around in shipping containers, whether it was ammunition, communications equipment, other supplies. So when we saw uh, everything packaged up in a shipping container for human performance or strength and conditioning training, we're like, whoa, that's awesome. Because the way we used to train in the field was with sandbags and cinder blocks and things like that, doing like prison style workouts. So the
yeah.
ability to get actual strength and conditioning equipment into the expeditionary or the field environment, we knew would have value to the community that we came from, and was advancing on some of the stuff that was already happening. So that was immediate what it was. And then we honestly sold a ton of them to the military in the first couple of years, and still do to this day provide, we've sold over 5,000 container gyms to the U.S. military. Um,
Wow.
and now it was the customers. They started saying, "Hey guys, great. You know what? Yeah, this is awesome when we're deployed, but we also want this outside of our workspaces or where we conduct maintenance on our vehicles, so we don't have to, go 30 minutes across the military installation to the fitness center to work out, and then 30 minutes back during lunchtime. We could just put these right outside of where we work." I'm like, "Okay, awesome. Let's do that." And then, eventually hired a commercial team led by Nick Vay, and you mentioned CJ and Brett and Aaron Mosier, Molly, Jake. Like they're just incredible, and they came in with relationships and knowledge of the commercial fitness industry, and we're able to play or parlay all of the work we did for the military to outdoor fitness commercially. And pre-pandemic, we said, "Hey, our strategy is outdoor fitness. Let's go. This is who we are." The pandemic happens, and everyone wants to train outside. So sometimes you just got to get
Yeah.
lucky too, Eric.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. The explain to me like when I if I have one of these container based gyms, like what's that experience like?
Mhm.
Does is it closed in? Do I open the front doors or does it side doors open? And what kind of equipment am I looking at? Or is it all custom? Like what is that
Yeah,
experience like?
100%. So we have a bunch of outdoor products now. We have the container gym called the Shred Shed because not everyone loves a shipping container and sometimes a commercial or a corporate or an academic setting. So in our mind, they all have similar value propositions and similar designs. So on the outside of the box or the container, the Shred Shed, you get a squat rack. So but the cool thing is, a lot of times with outdoor fitness, you need a concrete pad or something like that to anchor the rig or the rack to. Well, the
For sure.
box acts as the anchor to the rigger rack. And you can go crazy. You can put monkey bars and anything like that, but the box is the anchor to it. So you don't need to go have a concrete pad where you go down into it, which can be very expensive to do. So first thing, you got your functional training rig that attaches to the outside. And then when you open the doors, you've got all your barbells, your kettlebells, your bumper plates, medicine balls, everything you need to set up this kind of small group functional workout in an outdoor environment, and even all of our accessories. We have our own line of accessories, and they're all designed for outdoor use. So our medicine ball has a UV additive, and it's made in a marine buoy factory, so
Hmm.
you can train with it outside and not worry about damaging the equipment. But yeah, the idea is um, the box has the anchor to the rig. Inside has all your training equipment. We also have trailers now. Trailers are super fun. We launched it at Ursa. Very similar, kind of product mix, but more in a mobile fashion. So instead of needing a forklift and a flatbed to move a container or a shred shed around, now you just need a small SUV, and you can tow that trailer behind the small SUV. You got your squat rack, your pull-up bars inside. All of your kettlebells, barbells are secured with straps, so you can go to any park or go see a client at their house and run a kick-ass workout.
Nah, incredible. One of the things that we were laughing about before we started recording today, Mike, was like, okay, so you started there and now you're like everywhere, right? Like you have products, you're doing custom, you're doing all of these, like that's just the tip of the iceberg. And so explain to me, like from a high level, what is it everything that BeaverFit does now and how did you get there?
Yeah, I mean, I touched on it in the beginning a little bit. Like, we really pride ourselves of having like a close relationship with our customers, and we feel like they're part of the team, and we have unique resources uh, that can make them successful. And if they're winning, we're winning, and that's our mentality. It's like, cool. We don't need to be at the forefront in our brand or anything like that. We just want to surround our customers with the resources that we have to make them successful and win. And that's been our mindset in the military. That's our mindset when we work with our commercial customers, whether it's a corporation trying to launch uh, a corporate wellness program, or a franchise that's trying to scale quickly and do it efficiently. It's awesome. We've got an incredible team of talented people, and we can apply those resources to your problem set and solve it for you.
What what type of products and projects have you worked on that surprised you? Something that kind of came out of the blue and you're like, I didn't see that coming, but I'm glad I
Yeah,
did.
it's something that we in the commercial space refer to as contract manufacturing. So it was, that this whole mindset that these boutique fitness franchises that are trying to scale quickly, um, and honestly, they were getting product from overseas, and we pride ourselves in U.S. manufacturing for a number of reasons. One, we just believe it's the right thing to do to build our economy, create jobs here in the U.S., and keep a close eye on quality supply chain. Obviously, we're veteran owned, so it's important to us to keep stuff on shore. And we think it's a matter of national security, to be honest, to build, our industrial base here in the U.S.
Awesome.
Um, and during the pandemic, when supply chain overseas was a shit show, to be honest, and even getting stuff in and out of ports and all that, there was these boutique fitness franchises that couldn't get their equipment. And because of the awesome team that we have on the commercial side and the relationships they had, folks started coming to us, and we're like, oh, like, yeah, we can make that bench, we can make that rig, that rack, and here's a design for your custom piece of equipment that our engineers just did from your paper napkin drawing, and they did that in like a couple days. And everyone's like, wait, how did that just happen? And I'll be honest with you, Eric, we had no idea the process that these customers were going through to get equipment from the manufacturers overseas. And nothing against those manufacturers; they actually provide like decent service and equipment, but it just takes long and there's challenges. and it's hard to go see the equipment be made. So we had people come to us, and we thought what we were doing was pretty normal. It's like, hey, yeah, here's our badass team. Here's this laser cutter, automated powder coating system, all this stuff, and we can design and prototype stuff pretty quickly. Everyone was like blown away. We're like, man, uh, this is cool. People seem to like what we're doing. So we've done that a couple of times now, and especially with um, Brandon and Kirk at Metabolic came to us with a similar problem set as um, some of the other contract manufacturing customers, and we've got this little bit of a process now that seems to be repeatable, and folks find value in it. And uh, a lot of business owners do strategic planning and all this different stuff, 3 5 year plans. I will tell you right now, that was not on our 3 5 year plan to have these incredible partners that are boutique fitness franchises that are scaling quickly with franchisees that are awesome operators, and we're able to design custom equipment for them. And the great thing is, once you design it once, now we produce it at scale, and it's modular in nature. So, I mean, that's only been going on in the last, 24 to 18 months, and it's been an awesome part of our business. And we're stoked to, and you get to have a long-term partnership with these folks. It's not
Yeah.
like just, hey, one-off sale and go. We much prefer the longer-term partnership. So there's a ton of value in that as well.
Yeah, let's use that as the I'm good friends with the guys at Metabolic, or the team at Metabolic, and they are a sponsor of the show, and I do truly believe in their franchise and the model they have, and the business they built around it. I think it's one of the best on the market, and I'm not afraid to tell people, if you're looking at a fitness franchise, I would highly recommend considering them. Um, so walk me through that process, because he showed me at Ursa, what you
Yep.
guys built, the problem that you guys solved. There's numerous, problems that you helped them solve, but maybe walk us through that. Like, how is it that you work with the boutique, and how did you affect their business and their bottom
Yeah, I
line?
mean, obviously they have a unique training model that in theory would take a lot of space, but in the real estate market, space equals money, right? So he's like, hey, here's our programming, here's our methodology, and we have, strength and conditioning coaches. We have this guy Chris Frankel, and other team members like Jason Clark, Brian Carey, that are the PhD level for Chris Frankel in human performance, exercise phys, and folks that have been coaches. So that's like, okay, let's look at this model they have. It's awesome. We love their model. And how can we design unique equipment to store their training accessories and run their programming in a small space possible? Because, like I said, space equals money in this real estate business that is a big part of franchising. So we just sat down, started paper napkining, drawing. We have a product team, so we've got a human performance product team led by Lindsay and Jason Hayes, and they were looking at different stuff, and our engineers, and just I hate to say we're spoiled. We have an incredible team, and they take this problem set,
Mhm.
and then real time, we could just move equipment around, and we can model out what that space would be like with people in there, and then it goes to our fabrication floor, and we can test and prototype it fairly quickly, and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, cool. What was going to take 2,500 square feet, we could do it in 2,000 square feet with the same experience for the folks going in and training and coaching and all kind of stuff. So it's like, and they're like, whoa, wait, what? We could do that? I'm like, yeah, here's
Yeah.
some drawings. Here's the layout. Here's how it's going to work. And uh, I mean, I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but when you put awesome team members with a partner that's willing to be transparent about what their problems are, and understands their requirements, and then you solve that problem. But it's all about that communication and having awesome people.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with oversimplifying anything
Yeah,
nowadays. Everything's
heck
overly
yeah.
complicated. you yeah, it's you can't argue with the unit
Mhm.
economics of it, right? When you can help solve that problem. And when you're talking about, boutique models like that, like Metabolic, it's like that every square inch within that gym needs to be valuable, right? It needs to be optimized. And when you can do that, and then, do it at scale, that's a very strong value proposition. And as you went through the pandemic, I'm just curious, like, obviously you had the outdoor fitness, component of your business, which I'm sure just exploded. That probably, if you're servicing gyms, that may have slowed down a little bit. I doubt the DoD
Mhm.
slowed down at all, but you can tell me. Did you ever though consider, like, okay, we got to get it to the at home consumer market? Did you ever, like, consider that way? Did you ever put resources toward it, or did you just say, you know what, no, this we got something good, we're going to stay on this path?
Yeah, I'll be honest, like not a ton. The only thing that was really there was the great kettlebell crisis of 2020, and literally nobody had kettlebells
That's right.
except for BeaverFit because we made them in the U.S. and we were coming off the back end of a government contract where we had to supply 36,000 U.S. made kettlebells to the U.S. Army in like 6 months. So we had this incredible capacity to produce kettlebells. And then all of a sudden, supply chain overseas just went away. So we're getting phone calls from like the biggest players in the industry, like Rogue and Life Fitness and all these other companies. Like, oh, we heard BeaverFit has kettlebells that you make in the U.S. Can we get some? I'm like, huh? And we know all these people, right? We work with them, but we never had a phone call like that. So we did supply some folks with kettlebells. That was probably the one product, and we knew that was going to probably dry up, once the supply chain opened up again. So we took that on. We didn't get crazy with trying to target the home consumer. It's funny you say we do everything, but we've got all these product ideas for home consumers, but right now we're not really prepared or built to support the home consumer. Our model is more B2B or B2G, being business to government.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. One of the things I've noticed whenever I talk to executives and entrepreneurs who have a military background is there's a unique value set within the company. Especially like, if people have been paying attention, how many times you use team, right, in your conversation, like that seems to be a value. There's definitely a work hard, play hard kind of mentality as well. Explain to me, like, what do you think having that strong military background within your company, how does it make you unique? How is it attributed to the success you guys have
Yeah,
seen?
I think one, it's the team, but then, and that's what Alex and I and Tom Beaver talk about all the time. Like our job is to build the best team ever, and if we do that, some of these other harder problems are going to take care of themselves because we've got incredible team members. And then when it comes to our customers, since we have a service mindset, like where we served our country, it's awesome. We take pride in that, and we want to serve our customers in the same way. And that's what I said. We put our customers at the center of what we do. um, it's because of that servant mindset. That hey, that's so what we do. That's we served our country. Now we want to serve our customers. We take passion in that. In our military business, we feel like our services continued. We're doing uh, what I think is awesome stuff for our military partners, both in human performance and we have a whole tactical line of equipment, and we take pride in that. But I would say it's um, that service mindset, and then the other one is I was talking to Brandon about this the other day from Metabolic. It's this idea of hot wash and always getting better. And a hot wash in the military, when you finish a mission, you sit down and you debrief it. Like, oh, here's what went well.
Hmm.
Here's what didn't, and really focus on what didn't and what we can do better next time. And that same mindset here is like, okay, got it. Everything's going well, but what are we going to do to continue to get better? And when we make mistakes, let's own those mistakes and fix them. Because, like, right, like manufacturing is hard. We're going to screw stuff up. We've had some big mistakes. We
Sure.
made 18,000 hex bars for the U.S. Army that had a manufacturing defect, and we had to replace them all. That was not fun.
That's expensive. Yeah.
But we learned a lot from that, and we're just continuing to always evolve and get better. So I would say that those are a couple things that, with our military background, we try to apply to what we're doing at BeaverFit.
Yeah, that's great. And so let's get into we'll get into the human performance side of things in a minute, but the tactical
Mhm.
training, when we talk about that for the military and how you guys kind of play a role in the equipment and the facilities, how's that different than what a normal consumer or a normal, everyday Joe like myself would
Yes.
see?
So on our military side of the business, we have a product line we call special operations equipment. So we sit down with our customers and look at what they refer to as their mission essential tasks. And that can be breaching through a door, rappelling from a helicopter, doing what's called subterranean warfare. And we design products to meet those mission essential tasks. So we design rappel towers. So we just finished a project down in an Air Force base in Arizona that is like a 5-story high tower that has uh, simulated helicopter hulks where our the military folks can train to rappel from. that simulated helicopter. So when they get up in the air, they know the
Cool.
process and procedures to do so. Then we build obstacle courses. Like obstacle courses are super fun. Everyone loves an obstacle course. Military, that's part of the
Yeah.
heritage there. So we design obstacle courses that have a little bit of a different spin on them because they'll have breaching doors and confined space, tubes that you have to crawl through, do all this different stuff. So um, it's definitely more of a custom side of our business. And we tell people like not to like be too audacious about it, but hey, like if we can build this, a 6-story tower, then yeah, we can take on your problem set in the fitness space. So it's a fun line of business for us. We've got an awesome team, out there working on that, and it does, give us the ability to do unique projects. We've got one going on in Romania right now where we're building a fake ship that is literally going to like float on a barge, and it's out of containers, and they're going to practice boarding that container ship, for the
Oh,
Romanian
cool.
Defense Force. Yeah.
Wow. That's really
Yeah.
fun work, and I think as a, like I said, kind of an average Joe fitness consumer, it makes me really want to try this stuff. I want to do like a breaching door. I want to do
Breaching doors are
be
super
on a
fun. Anyone
ship.
can do it. Like, yeah, let's go. So yeah, so we have that whole tactical line of business, and then on the human performance side of the business, you touched on it in the intro. It's really evolving, and the Army has a new fitness test. They used to do a 2-mile run, push-ups and sit-ups, and now they have to do a deadlift. They have to do a shuttle run where they do a loaded carry, a sled drag, and a sprint. They do an overhead med ball throw, and honestly, a lot of that's coming from the strength and conditioning community, and they're realizing that if we really want to train to be truly lethal and resilient war fighters, we can't just do push-ups, sit-ups, and a 2-mile run anymore. So I would say that was a lot of kind of expertise they took from the strength and conditioning community and designed this new test. And then now the war fighter is being designated as a weapon system. And when we say we don't really build gyms in the military anymore, we're building maintenance facilities for the human weapon system. And it's funny though,
Wow.
Eric, they have the same challenges that boutique fitness studios do. It's about throughput. It's like, okay, we have a limited amount of time, and these are the number of soldiers that we need to train. How do we design these facilities to train the most people most efficiently in limited time? I feel like we're spoiled because we can go back and forth. We can take the lessons learned from boutique fitness franchise like Metabolic, apply that to designing a facility to train 180 soldiers in an hour and get max throughput. Yeah, we just like to take lessons learned back and forth.
Yeah, it's almost like a force
Mm-hmm.
multiplier, right? It's like you can like take this one, you learn things over here. It's like whenever I've been at a point where maybe I'm advising or coaching for multiple
Mm-hmm.
clients, right? It's like I have to thank them because I'm learning here and then I'm applying over here, right? And you get to, when you work across when you're in like kind of this, you have the core of what you do, but then you have these different communities or these different subsets of clients, and you get to learn and move over here. And now it becomes new in this application. It's a pretty cool thing to see, right? It's like
No, it is, and
artistry.
it's just like constantly evolving. And it's like, oh, okay, there's a little snippet here, and like you're saying, you can apply that to other problem sets and back and forth. And to me, that's just how we continue to get better.
Yeah, awesome. Um, Okay, so let's dive into this human weapon system. Like you brought that up before we started recording. I got really excited. I'm still a 12-year-old boy at heart, right? I'm like, okay, well, that sounds really cool. It sounds like GI Joe. Like, tell me what that is, how that term kind of started and evolved, and how what that means to you and BeaverFit
Yeah, I mean, it
specifically.
really started in the SOCOM community, so our special forces. Um, you know, about 10 plus years ago, they had a program called POTIF, uh, Preservation of Force and Family, and they were hiring, and this is awesome, they were hiring civilian strength and conditioning coaches from professional collegiate sports to come in and train the special operators as athletes because they are performing these tasks that are very athletic in nature, quite a bit different, but still athletic in nature. And then now the conventional forces are realizing the benefits of that program to reduce injury, improve mental health, enhance readiness of our force across the board. And they're realizing that, hey, if we invest in this and we maintain this human weapon system in the same way we do our aircraft, our vehicles, everything like that, we're going to be able to have people that can perform their job better, they're happier, they get hurt less, and they can serve longer, right? Because a lot of times people get hurt doing their job in the military and they're forced to retire. So if we can better kind of maintain them as this weapon system, and it sounds terrible, but specifically in the Army, they have it's holistic health and fitness. So it's across the board. There's a spiritual element to it, cognitive training, sleep, nutrition. So it's everything. It's not like, hey, just go to the gym and PT your face off, and that's what's going to make you better. It's like, oh yeah, that's what we thought 20 years ago, but now we're having all these issues. So even though like the human weapon system sounds a bit intense. It's really not, because they're realizing everything else that goes into truly maintaining humans and making them us better to do our jobs and also be better, spouses at home and parents as well. So it's that holistic approach that goes with it. So um, it's changed the way we look at facilities, and I think everybody has, right? Like it's about
Mhm.
recovery. And yeah, like I said, we don't just need to go train our faces off every day. How are we going to recover? How are we measuring our sleep? How do we have we know our sense of purposes? And then all of that together. So now we have to create spaces for that. So no longer is it just a massive floor with as many squat racks as you could put in there. It's like, okay, where are we going to do cognitive training? Where's the recovery space? All that kind of stuff. So it's changed how we look at designing and laying out facilities and partners in the industry as well.
Yeah, let's dive into that. I mean, I had Coach
Mm-hmm.
Me Plus, they were on this podcast a few months ago, and they're kind of from a software solution overseeing the what's the Army initiative, the
Holistic health and
holistic.
fitness, H2F is kind of the industry name for it.
That's right, H2F. Thank you. And how they manage very
Mm-hmm.
complex, right? They need like essentially they built an enterprise level software to help build these things. One of the things that caught me not by surprise, but I just didn't think of it was the the religious aspect and like the access to like a
Mm-hmm.
chaplain or a priest, through the app and just immediate contact. And that's new, right? It's spiritual like wellness, like that's you wouldn't associate that with the military necessarily, but I also know from having a lot of family in the military that there is you generally very tie in between the religious life and the purpose of the work, right? um Cognitive and
Mm-hmm.
recovery, so tell me a little bit about that. Let's get granular. Like, what does a cognitive facility, cognitive training facility look like, and same with like a recovery facility? How are
Yeah,
those
so
different?
cognitive. I'm not an expert on this. We should get Chris Frankel to come in here and talk about this. But I always oversimplify it. But it's like, especially unique to the human weapon system, is a lot of times you have to perform cognitive tasks when you're tired, when you're spent. So we're doing things where, um, at the simplest form, some coaches will. You're doing your squats in the squat rack. They'll come up to you with a "Where's Waldo" book,
Hmm.
and after you just finish your set and you're smoked, they'll hold up that book in front of you and say, find them. That's a kind of rudimentary way. There's other systems out there,
Right.
um, like Blaze Pods or something like that, and right next to the rack we'll have a Blaze Pod system. And again, you'll do your stats, you'll be totally smoked, and then boom, you'll go in there and have to go through the Blaze Pod training and recognize the different patterns and things like that. So I would say that's like cognitive performance training. There's other companies out there because we deal with a lot of um, traumatic brain injuries. So there's actually like cognitive
Sure.
treatment companies out there that we work with a company called Wave Neuro that is just incredible that they can scan your brain, determine if you're operating at the highest level possible, and if you're not, they can actually treat you. I didn't want to go into any of the science behind it because I will miss say something, but hey, they can tell if you're messed up and they can fix your brain. So that's like cognitive treatment in there. So we've got spaces to do that cognitive treatment, and then we have cognitive training elements built into the equipment and how we're doing it. Uh, and then the recovery side, like there's obviously a ton of equipment, but it's focusing on nutrition and sleep to make sure that that is built into the program. So folks like Coach Me Plus build that into the programming, so folks understand when you need to do those things, and then obviously all the mobility recovery tools, whether it's cold tubs or hyperized Therabody products. I'm not trying to pitch anyone, but there's a ton of focus on exactly um, how we're going to prepare ourselves for the next workout in between workouts.
Yeah. And I know this isn't your field, but what about like wearable
Mhm.
data? Is there, is the DoD latched onto any particular
Yeah.
brand or, data sets that they're looking at? HRV, obviously sleep monitoring is huge. Like what have
I,
you seen on
I
that
think the
side?
concept, absolutely. I know there's active tests right now with a bunch of different devices, but this is going into the human weapon system idea. There needs to be a diagnostic
Hmm.
system, right? So for our vehicles, the first thing when
Yeah.
you take your vehicle to go to the mechanic, they run a diagnostic system. Or now these days, car tells you when it needs maintenance. So what the DoD is trying to do is figure out what the diagnostic system is for this human weapon system. Same thing with aircraft, right? That aircraft tells you when it needs maintenance. It tells you what's wrong. We've got to figure out what that diagnostic system is for the human weapon system so that we can properly train and treat it. And then also, like, hey, let's be honest, it's our taxpayer dollars. They got to figure out how to justify it. And are we actually getting better? So they're looking at both of those things of how do we track data to make sure that we're meeting certain metrics when it comes to specifically injury prevention. And then also, how can we get ahead of the game a little bit and know when something might be going wrong, and we can have proactive treatment for that instead of always being reactive. No worries.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I was having myself on mute. It sounds so
Mhm.
futuristic, right? Like all this stuff. Like I'm thinking about like when I was younger. The guy was like the Jean Claude Van Damme movie where he's like a
Yep.
bionic soldier, right? And they had these diagnostics built in, and it's really crazy. I mean, compared to over your military career into now the private sector working with the company. I mean, how what do you think about when you see the advancements going on in
Oh,
the DoD?
it's crazy. Like we never had this stuff. Like we were the ones that were, out there just, PTing our faces off every day. A lot of times body weight stuff. And we didn't have these facilities or wearables or any of this kind of stuff. So, and there's a lot of that old school mindset still that isn't bad. But folks are coming aboard and getting educated on it. Um, and I think people get it. They understand that, hey, we're broken. Our military service broke us. We're hurt. How can we do better for the next generation? And even what they're doing is different, like the cognitive load. Like you're out there, you see guys in the military now. We
Mm,
used to carry a lot of weight. Now they've got, you know, four different types of radios in their ear. They're looking at 10 displays of different unmanned vehicles providing data. And that's where the cognitive side comes from. Like, oh, wow, there's a lot of information coming in. How can I slow down my breath, focus on what I need to focus on to do my job? And it's not always carrying 80 pounds on your back and rucking 10 miles anymore. It's a lot of this cognitive stuff as well, depending on what your community is or what your job is in the military. So to us, like it's crazy to see, like honestly. And going back to the commercial side of our business, we like to learn from both sides. And yeah, maybe some of this stuff is futuristic. I'd say commercially is probably a little bit ahead of the DoD right now, but DoD is catching up. And whether they
mm.
leapfrog, we'll see. And it's good to see a learning going back and forth, where I think in the past maybe it was very much segmented, but now that DoD is hiring a lot of these professionals, from strength and conditioning communities, or occupational therapists, physical therapists, personal trainers, athletic trainers. It's pretty cool to see the learning going on back and forth, and I think advancements are going to happen even faster in the next 5 years than they did in the previous 15.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's interesting for you to hear that because I always think about like professional sports and DoD kind
Mm-hmm.
of at the forefront of performance, right? But it sounds like DoD is a little behind. Would you say that at this point?
I think in the for our special forces community, SOCOM, I would agree 100% with you that,
Hmm.
they're with professional sports. The conventional side maybe is a little bit behind, and they're realizing the benefits of it now, and are going to see folks catching up. But they have a different problem set, right? And I think that people on this podcast have seen it. There's a lot of information out there that um, the civilian population that is actually qualified to join the military right now is lower than our history, because uh, unfortunately because of obesity, and folks aren't meeting
Yeah.
the initial height and weight standards. So what I think the conventional forces are realizing is like, holy smokes, we've got this problem where we've got people coming into service that aren't quite prepared. So we need to invest even more now to get those folks prepared to do their job. So I think it was very much an eye-opening moment, and now there's like a soldier prep course that the Center for Initial Military Training does before you go to boot camp to make sure you're ready to go and you're not getting injured in that. So I think there's just been a few eye-opening moments in the last, 5 to 10 years that folks are realizing how much of a focus this needs to be for our conventional forces as well as our special operators.
Gosh, that's a sobering
That's
realization, right? Like we're just let's just say what it is. We're just too fat, like
yeah.
to perform in
No,
the
it's
military.
it's
That's
it's
it.
disappointing, but it's awesome that there's folks like us talking about it, being honest about it, recognizing that it's a problem, and
Yeah.
then I know there's a ton of people listening that have ideas of how to solve it. Like, let's come together as a community, and there's a bunch of like task force right now that are really focusing on this to make sure that as a population and we can be better prepared for life and to serve our country.
Yeah. Yeah. So this show's called The Future of Fitness, right? When you look at the next, I don't know, let's put a time frame on it. Next 10 years of, the industry overall and BeaverFit's role. Like what gets you excited? How do you see BeaverFit expanding? Is there any particular parts of the fitness, health, and wellness industry that you're kind of eyeballing, like, okay, this could be really big? What gets you fired up right now? What's the vision?
Oh, this is a good one. I'm not sure. Like, we want to be there to support folks. Like, I'm not sure that we're going to come up with the next best idea. We want to be there to stand behind folks when they have that idea. We can help bring it to life. And we've had some of those conversations. Like, there's the idea of like digital weights. Like, oh wow, we can now create a load, like lots of load, like 300 plus pounds, in something that's quite small and portable. Like, oh, that's interesting. This might allow us to train in ways and places that we never thought we really could because I couldn't bring weights there or uh, it just wasn't possible to move that much weight around to certain locations and spaces. So that's interesting. I think to us, we're not really sure which way that's going to go, but the idea of creating lots of load in smaller devices is like, huh? Because we're mobile outdoor fitness company. Like, okay, cool. We want to bring a bunch of weight somewhere, but man, it won't fit in that trailer because no vehicle would ever be able to tow it. So it's like, huh, that's
Right.
interesting to us. We're not sure exactly where that's going to go or what we're going to do, but I would say that that has piqued our interest recently. We need to make some decisions on what we're going to do with that interest, and but we're keeping an eye on kind of the direction folks are going with some of those ideas.
Yeah, interesting. No, you guys are a private company,
We are
is that
private,
correct?
so we're owned 100% by myself, Alex Roothouse, who I mentioned, and then Tom Beaver and his dad Jim Beaver in the UK.
Cool. If you don't mind, share what you can. I mean, just about where the
Mm-hmm.
business is at. I know you guys probably want to keep things a little close, but as far as employees, revenues, if you guys take an investment, like
Yeah,
what does
so
that look
as
like?
far as team members, we've got 80 team members in the US. A lot of our sales reps live in their sales region and then at our headquarters in Reno, Nevada, where over the last couple of years, we vertically integrated a lot of our supply chain. So we have our in-house lasers and powder coating systems and things like that I talked about in the UK. So it's pretty cool. We have the ability to support the European market with direct manufacturing in the UK. So we've got I think about 40 team members in the UK. That office is just awesome. It's on the Beaver family farm. We've converted this farm into a manufacturing hub.
Nice.
It's just a cool experience because you look outside the fab shop and there's sheep up on the hill. It's a pretty cool spot. Um, so we are going to go through a global merger. So we've been right now it's two separate entities with slightly different ownership structure, but we are combining those two entities here in the near future. We've been working on that for a while, and we think that working closer together as a global brand is going to benefit our customers a ton and be able to apply those different resources in other places. So we're excited about that initiative moving forward. And then said we love being wholly owned by the owners. Nothing against investors, anything like that. There's a ton of value there, but sometimes they can drive decision making. And we're lucky that it's myself and Alex and Tom and his dad Jim, as well as our key team members that we're the decision making team. And we do take advice from consultants and advisors and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes down to it, there's no outside voice that's influencing those decisions. So we take pride in that. We've been able to fuel our growth through internal resources to date. If something crazy happens and there's something we need to do, we would look for outside capital. But right now, our plan is to continue to grow and fuel the growth by the resources that we have in house, unless something crazy happens, which we feel like we've got some partners and we're prepared for that moment if we do need that outside support.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome, man. And so, I mean, you're
Yeah,
bootstrapped essentially, right?
the whole way through.
The whole way
Yeah.
through. Yeah. I mean, that's so critical. And I've had, I've been involved with companies that are both heavily investor based and bootstrapped. And there's just how do I describe this? More sense of a calm in a bootstrap company. Like there's it's like, okay, no, we can take our time.
Yep.
There's urgency always, right? Urgency when it's needed. But when it comes to like, okay, no, we know what we want to do. Let's execute in the right amount of time. You don't get forced to do things too early, right? You don't get pushed too hard when you shouldn't be pushed. There's all this exterior pressure. I mean, um, is that ring true to you and
Oh
your
yeah,
experience
we
so
feel it every
far?
day. Like, and we see other people doing stuff like, man, why is
Yeah,
that going on? And yeah, we can make our
right.
own decisions, and we've got a ton of ideas. We do struggle with decision making still. Let's be honest here, right? And there's a lot of things you want to say yes to, but not all of them, make sense to say yes to. We do say yes to a lot, and we're getting it better at saying yes, but. But let's not say
But
that there's not those challenges and competing priorities. I think like all companies, we definitely struggle with setting true priorities, sticking to them, and having concrete strategy. We're not great at that, and it's something that we're trying to get better at. So, and sometimes like investor-led companies are way better at that. Like, oh no, here's the strategy, here's the priority,
mm,
here's why. These are key metrics that we're always measuring for success. Like, there's tons of benefit to that, and we're not great at that. We're getting better because we've taken some advice from folks. So it's always like anything, right? There's pros and cons. But we do feel very lucky that we can make our own decisions.
yeah, yeah. I think a lot of people, including myself, it's like, it's hard to say no, and feeling
Yeah,
yes feels so good. Saying yes
it
feels so
does.
good, right?
That's for sure.
There's nothing better. Uh, what do you need right now? I ask that just spirit of collaboration. The audience of in the community we have. What can we help you with? What's
Yeah,
important to you?
I think feedback. Like we love hearing from people in the
Mm,
industry or customers. Like, hey man, this the new trailer that you guys came out with. You think it's awesome, but hey, have you thought about doing this or that? Or you know, maybe it's not so great because of this. So, we love feedback. We pride ourselves in listening to that and kind of trying to understand the why behind that feedback and trying to get better. So, or yeah, I think that's the biggest one, Eric, is like, hey, let's communicate. Let's be transparent. Let's be honest with each other, and that's the only way we're going to get better.
yeah, awesome. Well, Mike, I really appreciate your time on this Friday. I know there's still snow in the Sierras, so hopefully I didn't keep you from, here we are in May of 2023, and it looks like you're gonna have a lot of skiing left.
Yeah,
Very
folks are skiing
jealous.
until July out here,
But
so come on
it's
out and
really
get some
cool.
ski runs, Eric. Let's go. Yeah,
Oh, that's wild. Yeah, count me in. It's been really great talking to you. I really admire the business. I love bootstrap companies. I love the stories behind them. I love the values and the culture you guys have. And, when you get to partner with people like Metabolic and the military and all these companies, you're obviously doing something right. So congratulations so far. And yeah, thank you for
no,
joining me
thank
today.
you, Eric, and to all the listeners out there. Thanks for giving BeaverFit a shot, and I look forward to working with you.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Taylor.